Oh God.
Oh,
No, that's not good.
Looking good. Looking good.
I don't want to be in the live thing here. He's got a much better face.
Mendes, it's good to see you. Today is Daf Yomi. It's one of those mesechtas that we could be on the right page, on the right time, every given day. Today's a beautiful daf, everybody say. It was a lot of fun. It's a great story that takes up most of the daf. Says the Mishnah, Dam hasheret v'habosor mitztarfim zemze. The blood of some sort of sheretz, let's call it a mouse, I don't know. V'habosor. So you take a little bit of meat, you're trying to get to an hadasha, a lentil. So you can use a little bit of the meat and a little bit of the blood, and together you have an hadasha. You're over on eating it, you're over on tumah. It's all mitzdaref from zemze. Klal Omar Rabbi Yeshua. So when it comes to tumah, the Mishnah brings two things, even three things we could talk about. There's the length of tumah, how long the tumah lasts for. The tumah of a sheretz lasts until the evening. The tumah of a human, if you touch a dead person, it lasts for how long? 7 days. So it's very different. We also have two types of shiurim. You have the size of a lentil, and you have the size of a kazais. In addition to that, we have a third category. We're not going to go into it so much, but it's the way to become tamei, by touching it or by lifting it. So says the Mishnah, if you take two pieces of tamei, of meat, and they share the same characteristics in terms of the length of time of the tumah, or the size of what you need to touch for the tumah, then they can be mitzdaref. Half a kazayis of this and half a kazayis of that is good. Kol shetumasoi v'shi'uroi shavim. The length of tumah, let's say both are only for until the evening. You could also stick in here if you want. They both are metama b'maga, or not b'masa, or also b'masa. V'shiyuroi, and the shear, how much do you need to touch? We said by a sheretz, touching is a adasha. Nevela is a kazayis. In other words, a nevela and a sheretz, according to this, do not combine. You take a half a kazayis of a nevela, as we're going to see in the next Mishnah, Mefurish. Chaylet is a type of a weasel. Like a chaylet is a weasel. What do we say? The chaymet was the snail. Chaylet is a weasel. Why? Who says chaymet? Oh, like he's trying to say like two. You might be. Oh, I think you're talking about something else now. Okay, that's later on in the Gemara. Shtei shemis mitzdarfim. Let's see. Shedemad shir shavim mitzdarfim. Tumasoi veloi shiuroi. What if you have something that has the same length tumah? For instance, the human flesh is 7 days. Human limb, 7 days. So perfect, up until this point. However, human flesh is a kazayis. Human limb is how much? A limb. So if you have a limb that's a half a kazayis, but it happens to be a full limb, let's say Rahman Aslan, a baby, whatever, but it's a limb. So it's not mitzdaref because the shear is different and has to be the same shear, has to be the same category. Loi tu masoi v'loi shiuroi. So if you have a sheretz and a nevela, their tumah is different. Why? Now the shear is very simple. The shear of a nevela and the shear of a sheretz, we just said. One is a kazais, one is a adasha, sheretz and adasha. Why is the tumah different? So here we have to come on to magan masa. By sheretz, you're only metame b'maga by touching, and by nevela you're tame also if you lift it. So without even touching it, but if it's inside a box, inside of something that you lifted, so therefore the oifen of becoming tame is different. And Meilah ein mitzdarfin. There's no tziruf.
The maga is chumrah.
A lot of things are chumras. Adasha is a chumrah.
No, I mean, is maga harder than touching?
No. Stop. One second. They both are b'maga. Just the other one has masa. Nevela also is maga. Just that it has masa. So if you could be tummy through masa, it tells me it's a different type of tumah. Don't mix these two tumas up. Don't put them in one plate. Omer Rav Chanan, Omer Rav Zeiro. Now there's at least 3 pirushim in the Rishonim how to read this Gemara. I'm going to go with the Reb Nisim Goin in Taisvis, and he sticks in a word here. You have to say, because if you just read it, let's read it together. Forget Taisvis for a second. Omer Rav Chanan, Omer Rav Zeiro. Period. What did he say? Nothing. In fact, the Gemara Meilah Rabbi Yossi, and the Gemara asked a kasha on him. He didn't say anything. What are you asking a kasha? So we have to stick something in here. So Reb Nisim Goin sticks in one word, ubai, va'oidabai. The point is, right, instead of the v'chein. Ubai. V'chein mamish makes no sense according to this pshat. Basically, he's saying very simple. In order for a sheretz to combine with its own blood, use half a shear of its blood and half a shear of its meat, ubai. It has to be it itself, sheretz A. In other words, if I have 2 choyleds, 2 mice, 2 weasels, the blood of A and the meat of B is not mitzaref. It has to be blood and meat of weasel 1, of John, whatever your pet is called. What?
Same type of a sheretz.
No. The same one of sheretz. That's what I'm saying. The same actual sheretz. You have a pet, and your pet died. The blood and the meat of that pet are mitzaref. But the pet's friend is not mitzaref. Uboy. It has to be that exact sheretz.
What's the happening to say that it's not mitzaref?
It's the same.
And it's the same.
Oh, we're gonna explain. The Gemara is gonna
Say that only in such a case, and it's from 2 different.
2 different shrots and 2 different mice, not mitzaref. Why? We're gonna see in a second. Let's see. Meilah Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanino. How could that be? It says hatmeim melamed shehein mitzarfim. Everything can combine. Va'afilu sheretz v'sheretz, even 2 separate shrotzim, even sheretz v'dam. That's our Mishnah. Now here's where it becomes interesting. Bein mishem echad. Whether they're both called the same name, they're both weasels, they're both mice, bein mishtei shemos. Whether, regardless if one is a weasel and one is a mouse, they're both mitzaref. So how come you're telling me it's not mitzaref? Omer Rav Yosef leikasha. This sheds light on the whole sugya and on your question, and this explains everything. Basically, he says beautiful. Everybody agrees, if I touch a sheretz, I don't have to touch the whole sheretz. I don't have to touch a whole kizayis. I don't have to rub it all over my face. I touch one part of the kizayis, and I touch the whole kizayis. Let's say I have a bowl of blood. I have a revis of blood. I don't stick my whole. I'm not toivel in it. Stick my finger on one edge of the bowl, and I become tamei. I touch the whole thing. So what he's saying is, kan bekuloi, kan b'miktsasei. If I have the blood of 2 shrotzim, yeah? If I have 2 separate mice, and I touch both of them together, I touch the meat of this and the blood of that, no, I became tamei. Because the mice I touched a kazayis of meat and blood. What's going on over here is that I only touched the meat, not the blood, let's say. I touched part of it. On that, the chiddush is, since it's the same exact mouse, and it's all one piece, the blood and the meat is all together, so I touched part of it, Meilah I become tamei. Because in other tumas, it doesn't work like that. In other tumas, I have to touch both pieces, right? You're asking to me.
Is this blood still inside the sheretz?
Yeah, uboy. It's part of it, yeah. But once it's separated from the sheretz, then it's like 2 different shrotzim. That's what's going on here. If you separate the blood from the meat, then there's no difference than 2 friends, 2 mice that were friends, and you touch a little bit of here, and then they touch 5 minutes later that. It's not mitzaref. You have to touch both of them. How do I know to make this kind of distinction? Midasanya. Nishbach ala ritzpa, I have human blood. A revis. Now, if the human blood was gathered in one place and I touched even one part of it, I become tamei. but it's spilled on the floor. V'hoya mekoymoi katafris. If it was on the Rashbam says a mudroin, an incline, it's like going. It's streaming down the street, flowing down the street. So I cannot view this blood as one blood. If the blood was gathered in one place, no, it's one revius. I don't care that you don't have to touch the whole thing. Nobody had to have me. But since it's flowing, the part that's down the street and the part that's up the street are not considered one. They're considered two separate pieces. And Meilah, the only way, if I made an oil on part of the blood, I step right, it's coming down the street, and I step on part of it, that's an oil, I'm tar. Why? Because I didn't create a tent over the entire blood. If I can create, I lean my body over the whole stream of blood, then I'm tameh, because I used all the blood. I was the oil and all the blood. You know what's going on here? If it's all gathered in one place, then I don't need to do an oil on the whole thing. Then even if I touch part of it. But since it's not gathered, it's on an incline, now it broke it down, now I have to view it as separate pieces. And Meilah, I have to do an oil on everything.
How could your body be an oil?
Why not?
Only your hand can be an oil.
Your whole body, you leaned over like this, you do maidim right over it. Skip a few words here. This is interesting. If you have a revius blood and you stir it with a spoon, so Taisus explains that by stirring it with a spoon, the blood gets absorbed in the spoon, and now we view it as two separate entities. You have a spoon and you have a bowl. Meilah, that's why in order to become tameh from this revius, you would have to be oil on all of it. And just because I touched the spoon at 7:20 and at 7:25 I touched the rest of the blood, it's not mitzdarif. It's not one blood because I view it as two parts. And Meilah, by us as well, by two shratzim or by sheretz, the meat and the blood are two entities. Unless it's one actual sheretz, then I view it as one. And if I touch it, I'm tameh. And if it's two separate shratzim, if I touch it, I am tar. Elalav shmamino kam bekuloi kam b'miktsasoi shmamino.
So this was exactly a reverse to the millimeter, and once the spoon has been in, it's no longer a reverse.
Correct.
In the bowl.
Correct. Exactly. Your spoon removed the revius. I don't know if it's exactly. Maybe the spoon took up 6 ounces. Whatever the case is, but it's less than a revius. Together with the spoon, it's a revius. And just because I touched the spoon, and just because I stirred all of the blood, and then after a while I got to all the blood, it doesn't make me tameh because it's not one. Shol Rabbi Masya ben Chorosh. By the way, yesterday, 2 by the ways. One is for Menachem and some other people that made fun of me on Shabbos. I found that Taisus on Daf Gimel and Beis, Ayin Sham, the pshat that I said, and you couldn't find it in the Rashbam Taisus on. It's Rabbi Peretz. Rabbeinu Peretz says that pshat. Fine. I'll go upon him. I did ask Yedidya where it says, you said, you were Mechaven. You said, I said, where does it say? It said somewhere, some sugya that the Rebbe didn't teach it well. It was Zocher and Zeicher. And he told us where it was. It was in Baba Basra Daf Chofalef or something, he said. I didn't look it up though. And also he said there's another Gemara, and that I also remembered, the Gemara where he thought the Rebbe said, Mei Betzoim or Mei Beitzim. He made a mistake between Beitzim and Betzoim, and he messed up a halacha because of that. Anyway, it's fine. So I just remember because it says Shal Rabbi Masya. I asked Rabbi Yedidya. Shal Rabbi, here's a Gevaldik Maisa. It's a long Geshmakis story. I don't know why it's not a famous story, but it should be. It's one of those stories. Shal Rabbi Masya ben Chorosh. As Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Beroimi. They're in Rome, and he asked Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Minayin ledam shrotzim shutame. Where do we know the concept that the blood of a sheretz is tomei, omar loi, v'omakro, v'zeh lochem atome? It says in the pasuk. You don't need a chart really. Every time I see one guy makes a speech on Hanukkah, and that's it. It's in my Avi speech. Remember? Has the pasuk here. Anyways, this is the pasuk. So 3 pshatim. Either the entire thing is extra, all these words are extra, or the vav is extra because it could have said zelochem atome, or the hey is extra. It could have said v'zelochem tome b'sheretz. Hatome is extra. Any way you want to look at it, there's a ribuy over here, and it teaches us the blood of a sheretz is metame. Amr loy talmidov. So Reb Shimon bar Yochai's talmidim said chakim le ben Yochai. I'm sorry, Reb Masya's talmidim said chakim le ben Yochai. Reb Shimon bar Yochai. Right? Who's Reb Shimon bar Yochai's father? Yochai. The son of Yochai is very smart. He knows who's the son of Yeshua ben Nun's father. Amar lahem. So Reb Masya said to them, Talmud oruch befiv shel Reb Elazar ber Reb Yosi. No, he's not that smart. He's not as smart as you think. He actually got it from Reb Elazar bar Reb Yosi. Now what's interesting is that when they asked Reb Masya himself asked Reb Shimon bar Yochai, what is the source? So if Reb Masya knew that Reb Shimon bar Yochai didn't invent it himself, that he got it from Reb Yosi Reb Yehuda, from Reb Elazar bar Reb Yosi, so he already knew the pshat. He already knew this thing. He was very familiar where it originated from. So why is Reb Masya asking Reb Shimon bar Yochai? Fine, but he asked him anyways. And when his talmidim said that Reb Shimon bar Yochai is great, he said Reb Elazar bar Reb Yosi is the one that came up with this. What's the story? Sheba'amachas gozro shmad malchus haRasha, the Romans, the Rishaim, they made a gzera, 3 gzeras. Shlo yishmeru haShabbos, v'shlo yemoilu es b'neiim, v'shiyivalu es hanidos. Don't keep Shabbos, no bris milah, no mikvah. The Gemara uses a strong lashon, shiyivalu es hanidos. It's not just no mikvah. If they say no mikvah, so then people are going to be over on nida. Halach Rabbi Reuven ben Esther Roibli v'siper kaimi. Reuven ben Esther Roibli, he got a haircut called kaimi. This is the best picture I found. I searched a long time. I couldn't really find. Believe it or not, people don't really do this today. But this is what it looked like. It was mamish shvacha picture, but this is the best I could get. You shave the front and you leave a pony in the back. That's what the Romans used to do.
People that have that naturally.
No, so I found the sides. Shave the sides is very in style today. To shave the whole front and leave the back, this should be a new style because I couldn't find it online. What? No, I searched weird haircuts. And then this was a football player standing next to the football, so I had to cut him out. And the whole zach. Yeah, I want to point that. I did want to point that. Look, it's shaved over here, but he left his payas. He almost looks like a Hasidic guy. Haircut went bad or something. Maybe there's a Hasidic guy right after Shiva or something. I don't know. Okay, fine. I don't know. Fine.
Just a bald Hasidic guy.
A Nazir, right. Hasidic Nazir. What?
And you see even long hair back, and it's all knotted in the plaits.
But the front is a kireach. All right. Bekitzer Siper Koimi. Now we know what Siper Koimi is. Don't forget it. He got this crazy haircut. Why did he do it? Because he wanted to fit right in. He pretended he was a Roman. We have to get rid of these gzeras. So he dressed like a Roman. The Romans knew that a Jew cannot take this haircut, can't get a haircut like that. Automatically assumed he's a guy.
He shaved off his face.
Yeah, he shaved off everything. Yeah. What?
Why can't a Jew get a haircut?
Pays, no pays, nothing. There's just a pony in the back. This guy's, that's the best I could get. Sorry. Yeah. Fine. But I'm saying probably even worse than that. Zog the Gemara. He got the haircut. And he went into the Roman quarters. Omer Lam. He comes up with the unbelievable svaras. He says, if you have an enemy, Yani Yasher, what would you like your enemy to be? Wealthy or poor? Omer Lo Yani. Of course we want him to be poor. Omer Lam. In Kain Lo Yasim Lacha B'Shabbos Kadesh Yanu. Why are you forcing him to work on Shabbos? One less day, 6 days a week, they're not going to be as wealthy. You're crazy. Let them keep Shabbos. Amru Tovos Omar. It's beautiful. You're saying Mam is great. Levatel. No, so get rid of it. I'm saying great, get rid of it. But Lu, to get rid of it. Chazav Amar Lehem, and then he said to them, Mishesh Lo Yoyev, if you have an enemy, Yakhish or Yavri, would you like your enemy to be really strong or really weak? It's better for us that they should be weak. So make sure that they get a bris milah, and the Mefarish points out here, bris milah is going to weaken them for life. If you take from a baby blood when he's so young, that's it, they're gone for life. Oh, Amru, yeah, Tavas Amar, Mama, she's saying great. Ubitlu, they reversed the Gzera. If you have an enemy, you want them to have a lot of kids like those Arabs? We want them to have fewer kids. So what are you forcing them? Create nida. They're going to be away from the wives half a month. Less kids. Givaldik. Oh, Tovus Amar. It's Givaldik. He's saying great. Ubitlu, and they mevatel the Gzera. This I mamish don't understand. This next line here. I mean, I do understand. It's like human nature. Hikiru Baishu Yehudi. Oh, they realize this guy. Listen, one after another. He's mevatel Gzeras. He's smart also. He must be Jewish. Hechzirum. So he said, oh, we got to take it all back. Now, what I don't understand is, if everything makes sense logically, and that's why they got rid of it, so who cares if he's a Jew or not? He makes no. When your enemy says something even makes sense, you got to go back on it. No, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. Oh, you know what? He's a Jew. Oh, but he said Tovos. He said right the whole time. He's good. No. We got to take it back. Zero. Omru. So now the Jews were in a big brach because they caught on to this trick. Omru mi yelach v'yivatel ha'gzeres. Turn the page. Yud Zayin on the base. Yelach Reb Shimon ben Yochai. Reb Shimon ben Yochai has to go. Shu melumad benisim. Everybody knows all the famous stories with the cave. 13 years. He lived off nothing. A little boxer and some water. Melumad benisim. V'achar mi yelach. But he needs a sidekick. Who's in second in command? Rebbe Lazar Rebbe Yossi. I think Rebbe Lazar Rebbe Yossi should go with him. Now, who's Rebbe Lazar Rebbe Yossi's father? Rebbe Yossi. Amalim Rebbe Yossi. No, not my son. If my father Chalafta was alive, you think he would let me go? I'm not going into the Roman palace over there. If my father wouldn't let me, I'm not going to let my son. He's not going anywhere. Now, Omar Reb Shimon. So Reb Shimon says right back, my father Yechoy was alive. You think he would let me go? Why do you think you're better than me? I'm putting myself in danger, so no, you'll give up your son also. Omar Yosi, nah, you don't understand what I meant. I know Azilno, Reb Shimon. I wasn't scared of the Romans. I'm scared of you. You're a dangerous guy. You blew up people. Gal Shalat Sames. You look at this guy, poof, he dies. Look at that guy. My son and you don't go together on a trip. It's really dangerous. I'm scared of Reb Shimon. Nah, I'm not scared of the Romans. Romans are nothing, a piece of cake compared to you. Tosfos says here, if you look in Tosfos, he says, you could look at also in Amud Aleph, he says the same thing, but over here, if you don't want to turn the page, Shunar, my son is young. Umemar Lashev, he answers really quickly. Reb Shimon noyach lichoy, says Tosfos. Umakbid b'dov. He has a quick temper. He's being makbid for nothing. Poof, he'll kill him. So Reb Shimon promises, you know what? You're right. I have a little problem. Sometimes they kill people when they plow their fields or whatever. I'm going to take care of your son. Afilachi, says the Gemara, he couldn't control himself. He punished him. What happened? They were walking. This exact question came up. How do we know that the blood of a sheretz is tamei? Ikim piv Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Yossi. Ba'amar the Rishonim explain. Ikim piv is a lashon of, maybe he whispered it, but he blurted it out. He couldn't control himself. He asked the question. I'll give you an answer. Now, what's the problem? Shim B'chai. He's the Gal Adar. Don't open your mouth in front of the Gal Adar. And what did he say? This pasuk, right here. This guy right over here that we said before. This. He knew it inside out. Now, the Gemara is this is all going back to the beginning. It's not Rabbi Shimon B'chai that came out with this pasuk. It's Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi that came out with the pasuk. Here's the story. He's the one that told Rabbi Shimon B'chai where to learn out from. Okay, so that's why we brought the story. Story's not over. But Omalei Reb Shimon Bar Yochai tells him, Ma'kimas fosecha tanika shetam chacham ato. I could tell you know your stuff. You're Talmud Chacham. Al yachzer ben itzelaviv. But however, a little bit of a problem. You cannot go back home. You're dead. I need to kill you. You are dead. Yotza. Okay, so Tosfos says here, and the Rebbeinu Gershom is Meirich. If you want to look in the Rebbeinu Gershom, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai all of a sudden realized, wait a minute. I promised his father I'm going to take care of him. But it was too late. Reb Elazar ben Zaya got what they call askara. It's a very deadly disease. It's a blockage in the throat. And you, what? Reb Elazar ben Yossi. Sorry. Reb Elazar ben Yossi got a blockage in his throat. He was barely breathing. He falls down to the floor of the ship and he's lying there dying. But then Reb Shimon Bar Yochai realized that he promised his father, so he davened for him. Say the Rishonim, say the Medrash, they bring a Medrash that one of the shipmates was walking, didn't realize that he's lying on the ground, stepped on his throat, and instead of killing him, he dislodged the askara from his throat, and he lived. Sure, if somebody has askara, just step on his throat. I'm saying, like, from the bad came out good. It was a nace, big nace. The Heimlich, the name of the sailor. The sailor. So, moving on with the story, says the Gemara, Yotza Likrosoi ben Temalyoin. Now, ben Temalyoin is a shed, not stam a shed. Rabbi Isai, this shed is a very short little shed. He looks like a little baby, and he's a jokester. He makes litzonas. What does he do? He goes over to women and he makes fun of them. He pokes jokes at women. How do I know? Says Tosfos. Yotza Likrosoi ben Temalyoin ukemoitinoi kotanhu v'rogel ben anoshim l'sloitzitz bohen. He's like a little baby. A little Ben Temalyan shows up. Now it's not Geshmak. When Ben Temalyan shows up, if you have a Geshmak, a giant shade, that's a Gavra shade, and he shows up to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, but you sent me this little cockroach shade. It's not good. Bochar Reb Shimon. So Yotza Likrosoi ben Temalyan Ritzoncha Ovi Machem. Hey, you want me to help you out? Bochar Reb Shimon v'Omar Ma Shivcha Shebeis Abo. Look at Hagar, the Shivcha, Nizdamelo Malach Sholosh Pa'amim. She was Zoicha to a real Malach. V'ani lo pamachas, and I get a cockroach. Give me something geshmak. You know what? I need any help I could get. I need to save Klal Yisrael. Okay, come along. Kodamu. So Ben Temalyan, he's a shed. He flew fast. He got there quickly. Oh, Bavati the case. So he jumped into her body to the daughter of the Caesar. It says in the Mefarish here, those of you who learn Mefarish, it says that he went in there and he started screaming like a Meshogana. I need Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, I need Reb Shimon. So she's making these funny sounds. What's going on there? Father says she's nuts. She lost her marbles. She's screaming. She was screaming. He didn't know Ben Temalyan's inside. All of a sudden his daughter starts screaming, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, like a Meshogana. Yeah, a Mamash Adibuk. Kitzer, he didn't know what to do with her. Now, all of a sudden, guess who shows up? Kimata Hassam. So Shimon Bar Yochai now walks over to the girl. Hocus pocus. All he did was, he says, Ben Temalyan, okay, no, get out. But he whispered Mistama that nobody heard. Ben Temalyan say. Kivin the Karale, Nova Gozel. So Ben Temalyan immediately leaves. So Amr Lahain. Now the Caesar owes Reb Shimon Bar Yochai big favors. Daughter's back to normal. Shilu kol ma'adis l'chol l'mishal, request anything you want. Vailinu l'gnozei mamish, like in the storybooks. He went into the big rooms over there with the, what do they call them in the books? The treasure rooms. Oh, he went into the treasure. Lishko called the boy. Ashkechoai Garta. They found the original letter of the Gzeira. Shaklu v'karua. Sure, it means not just literally they ripped it, but this is what we want. Give this to us. Make sure this never happens again. And says the Gemara, okay, so the Gzeira is over. Says the Gemara, just derech hagav. You know, people say, oh, Pliny went underneath. He was doing a tour in the Minarot Kotel in Chveis in Rome, and he bumped into the menorah. He saw the thing. There is actually a Gemara like that. It says that Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi saw the paroiches. Where did he see the paroiches? It was gone. He saw the paroiches. There's no blood. Machlokes in the Gemara, if on Yom Kippur they actually spray the paroiches, so they don't spray. He says, I saw with my own eyes. I saw the blood. Where did he see it? He was in the Gnazim. He actually toured the treasures. Okay, end of all the fun. Back to Meilah. Huh? New Masechta. No, this is very old, this Masechta. Ha-pigol va-noisar ein mitzarfim. So going back to the theme of our parak, which is almost over tomorrow. Things that combine and don't combine. So now, noisar and pigol are very, very different. The kohen had a machshava to eat it at mechutz zman. Noisar was left over. I take a half a kezais of this and a half a kezais of that. Dinam mitzaref. Guess what? You don't get karas if you eat a half a kezais of noisar when you eat a half a kezais of pigol. Dinam mitzaref. Why? Although, if you match it up to what we learned in the beginning of the day on Amud Aleph, they have a lot of similarities. They have the same type of tumah, less the same length. It's the same amount, the same shear, but they're not mitzaref. The two different isurim. You can't be mitzaref a pigol and a noiser. Hasheret v'hanevela. You take a sheret and you take a nevela. V'chein hanevela u'besar meis, a nevela and a human. Even though a sheretz is very chomer, even it's a lesser shear. All I need is a lentil. So let's say I'm eating an avela, I'm trying to get the kazayis, and unfortunately I don't have a kazayis. I'm trying to be over, and I'm missing a mashu. So I take a much more chomer item called a sheretz, and I add it. Now I have a full kazayis. But part of my kazayis is a little bit of a sheretz, and a sheretz needs even less than a kazayis. No, it's not mitzdarif. It's two shemais. It's two different things. This that a pigol and a noisar are not mitzdarif. So the Mefarish explains here beautifully. What happened was, if a kohen wanted to get back at his Yisrael neighbor, what do they do? His Yisrael neighbor brings a carbon that costs 3,000 shekel, and he thinks in his head, I'm going to eat this mechutz lizman, mechutz l'makom. So he messed up his neighbor. He got back at him without doing anything. He thought in his head, he gave him a 3,000 shekel damage. So in order for them not to do that, chachamim midrabanan, we're misakin that if a kohen does that, his hands become tamei. Now, midaraisa is no such thing. You can't make one part of your body tamei. My toe is tamei, but not the rest of my body. Doesn't work. And to say that his hands are tamei, to make it a rishon, that if it touches something, it becomes a sheni, that's mamish a derabanan. So these two things, says the Mishnah, says the Gemara, we're talking about a pigol and a noisar. They're not mitzdarif in order to make a tumah derabanan. Avalin achilo mitzdarfin. But if I eat, this is incredible. If I eat a half a shear of a pigol and a half a shear of noisar, boom, I get the oynish. Now, which one do I get? I ate a half a gezayis of noisar. I ate a half a gezayis of pigol. What oynish do I get? Do I get punished for pigol or do I get punished for noisar? Says the Mefarish. I'm not doing tshuva, but all the good stuff today is in the Mefarish. You get whatever is the most. So if 51% is noisar, I get noisar. Now, what if it's 50-50? You hear this, Mendy? Yeah. You know the answer to this? 50% noisar, 50% pigol. What oynish do I get? What do you think?
Whichever one he was told about.
That's one way, but that's not what the Mefarish says. Mefarish says I get two. I get two oinshim, even though each oynish is only comprises of a half a shear. It's a tremendous, tremendous chiddush. Together, I have a kazayis, but each one by itself is only half a kazayis, and nevertheless, I get oynish for both. Some learn, like you're saying, that what he means is the one that it's not literally, but it's whatever the hasra was on. Zokta Gemara. Oh, Kosha the Sanya Rebbe Lezer Omer Lo Yei Ochel Ki Koydeshu Kosha Ba Koydesh Posel. Since they come puzzle Ba Kos of Litain Lisas Al Chilasa. What time is Shir on Shabbos? Should we move it to Shabbos or no?
Shabbos is not so bad already.
I know it's not so bad. We have to move it after Yom Tov. We'll move it to Motzei Shabbos. 4:10 on Shabbos. Hold on. Should we do this Mishnah?
Yeah.
We have 1 minute.
Let's finish the Daf.
But we only have 1 minute. What do you say? Rabbi say, finish? Okay. Rabbi say, if you remember, there's avatuma. If avatuma, it always goes down one thing. If avatuma, like a dead mouse, touches food, it goes down one level, it becomes a rishon. If a rishon touches food, it goes down to the next level to a sheni. Says the Mishnah, if you have food that's a rishon, and then you have food that's a level below it, 2 half apples, but one is a rishon and one is a sheni. They are mitzdarif because of shneim. They both act as a sheni. In other words, what? They create a shlishi. What does that mean? That if they touch something that's truma, that truma becomes pasul. All foods, I could take a little bit of pretzels, a little bit of steak, a little bit of that, and if I eat it and it's tamei, I cannot eat truma anymore from a kohen. I don't need a half a loaf of bread. I could take a little bit of chunk, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's all mitzdarf. You need a erev techumim. You need 2 meals. I can use all the foods in the world together until I get to 2 meals. And to come to the shir of a kibetza. And get to the shir of a gegreris. I don't need 1 solid food. It can be many. To get to the fig's word on Yom Kippur. And all liquids are mitzdarif. I could take orange juice and grape juice and be mitzdarif them. And to fill up your mouth as a malay lugma on Yom Kippur could be all different fluids. They're all mitzdarif to make an iser. Fine, we'll stop here. We could go over it again. 4:10 on Shabbos. 4:10 we'll start the Mishnah again. By 4:12 we'll be on the next page. You want to hit me up over there, please?